and welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the not the Constitutionals. This is the Jobs and Business Podcast, LinkedIn logs for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Hey, welcome back. Here we are. It is the Tuesday, the 5th of May. I am currently finishing out my day. So you might hear a couple of blings and bloops from the emails coming in hot. Okay, what's going on? Well, not much in terms of jobs and business. There was a jobs report, because this is the 5th of May. There was a jobs report that came out on Friday, and we're pretty much in the same place where we were. What else has been going on? There's a show that we're working on that's already made, but I will be producing on it after the fact, and it'll be out in a couple of months, and that's pretty much it. We had a meeting for it today, which was on the books for a couple of days. I knew it was coming. It was nice and quick. I like a nice 11-minute meeting. This is what we need. This is where it's going to happen. Here's who you have to talk to. Ooh, baby. That's my favorite thing in this world. Anyway, so that's happening, and that'll be out, God, I think June. Yes. I believe that is exactly what's happening. So that's why I'm wearing a nice shirt. I put on a shirt because I knew my camera was going to have to be on. Hey, I have a story for you. Let's get into it. Hold on. I have to close. Okay, there we go. I don't know what's happening. And we're going to pop this open here. Here it is. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Ethan Millman. Universal music artists can reap millions from Spotify stock sale thanks to Taylor Swift. This is a story I was going to do last week, but I decided to hold it off until today, mostly because it was bigger than I thought it was going to be. So UMG, Universal Music Group, said last Wednesday that it's going to be selling 3%, half of its 3% stake in Spotify, which is roughly about $1.4 billion, based upon April 29th's valuation of that company, of Spotify. And because Taylor Swift had a little hand in some past dealings, all of United Music Group's artists are able to get a little bit of kashish as well. And I was reading through the article last week, and then I read through it before this just to refresh my mind, and my goodness, it was so much. It's a little circuitous how she's involved, but here we go. This all started sometime back in 2016. Warner Music Group and Sony Music Group had both committed to doling out some of the profits of the artists if they sold their Spotify stock. UMG confirmed it'd do the same nearly 2 years later, about a month before Spotify's IPO. Now, here's what happened. Sony sold, and then Warner did so as well, but the two music companies' methods of payment had a significant difference. Sony did not care whether or not their artist is getting any money, meaning that Sony X got paid regardless if they owed the label money on their record deal. Warner, however, kept recoupments in consideration, so the label kept more of the profit. Now, Taylor Swift was negotiating her deal with UMG at that same time, during that same year. And in that process, UMG committed to paying out artists on Spotify stock sales. Swift asked UMG to commit that deal would be non-recoupable, which means that if the artist owed money, as they did with Sony, as an artist could have done with Sony, then the artist would still get that money. She did this before, in the very early days of streaming, when it came to Apple Music. When in 2015, she penned an open letter to Apple on Tumblr to push Apple Music to pay out artists on free trials it was offering. Remember now, Apple Music does not give out free trials anymore. You have to pay at least, I think they do like 99 cents sometimes just to get in. Meanwhile, Taylor removed her music from Spotify in protest of low payouts, and then she came back in 2017, so she was off for a little bit. When she signed with UMG in November of 2018, she said that as part of that deal, because remember, she was and is still a giant artist, probably even bigger than, well, obviously bigger than she was at 2018, but she was still huge in 2018. So part of that deal for her signing with UMG was saying that non-recoupable term of the Spotify stock sales. That was the biggest deal to her. They agreed, and that was that at that point. We don't know how much artists will get paid, and that's still not known, and we probably won't know for a little bit. But there are little terms in 2018. There's a little line in 2018. WMG paid out about $126 million to its artists, Warner Music Group. Remember when they sold in 2018. So UMG said that the payments were going to be, quote unquote, consistent with the company's approach to artist compensation. So hopefully they would, students, the students of the music, artists will get paid somewhat decently, because whether there's been issues with lawsuit settlements or royalty deals, and there's been back pay, artists are paid pretty much handsomely. So hopefully with this stock sale, they're selling 1.5% of their 3% they own of the stock of Spotify. Then each artist can get paid in terms and in line with what they typically would expect when it comes to being paid by UMG. So not everybody's going to get everything. Drake is going to get more money than Cleo Sol. I could not think of somebody else. I was listening to Cleo Sol last night when I was cooking dinner. She's an art. I didn't know who she was until yesterday, and I heard a song and I was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Courtney Barnett. I just bought tickets to see her. Is going to get paid less than Bruce Springsteen, who I saw on Friday. So there you go. What an interesting thing that's going to happen. But artists should get paid. Remember when streaming started, artists, there was no rules. There were no rules, rather. There were no rules, and it was kind of like the Wild West, where anything went. Because we were coming off of either you buy the music on iTunes or Google Play, or you steal it on LimeWire, Pirate Bay, at all. But now, streaming is so synonymous. What the hell was that? What? Oh my God. Streaming is so synonymous with music and with television that it makes no sense to steal. But with that in mind, artists make nothing on streaming. And that's why some albums are long, because they're basically playlists. And it doesn't matter if you listen to the whole thing. It just matters if you listen to a lot of it or a majority of it. But I think we are coming back from that. At least because I listen to every single genre. So I'm seeing smaller in terms of, let me look at who I added Casey Musgraves because I'm fully in love with her. But let me look at the albums that are most recently added. So there's Casey Musgraves, Foo Fighters, Rosalia just put out a deluxe version of her album. And even still, that is 18 songs in 1 hour. The new Foo Fighters album, Your Favorite Toy, is 10 songs in 36 minutes. Middle of Nowhere is 13 songs in 44 minutes. The Nine Inch Nails and Boys Noise album is 12 songs and 46 minutes. Everything, I feel like it changed. It shifted from going from long albums into shorter albums. But now there are still some artists putting out 15, 18, 20 track albums, but their songs are 2 minutes long. Look at BTS. BTS's new record is 14 songs and it's 41 minutes. But then you get to the Nine Inch Nails Tron's Ares Divergence, which is the remix album of the Tron's Ares album they put out with that movie. And now it's 44 songs in 2 hours and 25 minutes. But I think that's more. I don't know if that's meant to be anything. And The Romantic by Bruno Mars is 9 songs, 31 minutes. I listen to a lot of music, guys. I don't know why I was naming all this stuff, but it's just they don't make a lot of money anymore. They make the money from touring. They make the money from merchandise sales. Also, when I went to see Florence and the Machine, there was a very long line by the staircase because I had to go to the second floor, unfortunately. But there was a very long line by the staircase, and I started waiting in this line because I thought they were blocking people from going upstairs because I tried to go up the stairs, and this woman was like, line starts. She worked for State Farm Arena. She's like, line starts here. And I was like, or line starts back there. And I went, okay, fine. So I went, and no one was going upstairs. So I just waited in this line, and I'm standing there, and I'm going, is this for the merch? Because I see people like, I don't really want to buy this shirt and things like that. And then I go, I'm just going to go walk upstairs. No one's going to stop me. And I just turn and I go past the line and I go upstairs and I'm like, why the fuck did I start with these? Why did she tell me? I'm not buying a shirt. I like Florence and the Machine, who I also saw. I like Florence and the Machine, but I'm not going to buy a shirt. All right. This next one comes from the New York Times, the failing New York Times. James Murdoch's company said to be in talks to acquire major parts of Vox Media. This comes from Benjamin Mullen and Jessica Testa. If you recognize that last name, Murdoch, yes, he is related to Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch. Don't know why I went with Lachlan first. Lachlan Murdoch is his brother, and Rupert Murdoch is his father. Lupus Systems, which is the company that is controlled by James Murdoch, is in talks to acquire major parts of Vox Media. Vox Media is the parent company of New York Magazine. They also run Vox and Vox.com and a bunch of other assets, including Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway's podcast, parentheses, S, close parentheses. Vox has been in the wings, waiting to sell parts of its business or all of it, much in the same way that Warner was going to sell parts of its business or all of it at once. The sale process has drawn multiple potential suitors, including the media company Versant. It is still possible Vox Media will sell to another acquirer, take on investment, or decide not to sell. What does take on investment mean? Does that mean that it's going to acquire other things and then build up the company from there? I don't know. I'm not going to look it up. Vox consists of a podcast. Okay, let's editor needs to look at that. Consists of a podcast network, New York Magazine, and a bunch of websites, including Verge and Eater and Vulture, I believe, and some other ones. After months of assessing potential options, the deal talks recently intensified. So they're talking to both Lupus Systems, which is controlled by James Murdoch, and Versant, which, if you'll recall, is the spinoff company from that includes Miss Now. Here's the Versant website. Oh, Jesus Christ, whatever. Okay. Golf Channel, CNBC, Oxygen, Rotten Tomatoes. Do you remember when Rotten Tomatoes had a TV show? There was a Rotten Tomatoes TV show. I used to watch that all the time. And I believe it was God, what was it on? It was on Rotten Tomatoes TV show. Was it on Fuse? I think it was on Fuse. I can't seem to find. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. If I go to Wikipedia, we're gonna do this together. Rotten Tomatoes. I don't like Rotten Tomatoes. I don't like to look at reviews of anything anymore. I just like to. Okay, let's see. Show. Yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes show. It was on current television. Oh my gosh. The Rotten Tomatoes show. And all it was just read on the Wikipedia page. It says a televised version of the website. And I want to say it was more. It was more than that. It says it's still going on IMDb, and that's incorrect. Brett Ehrlich hosted. Man, Ellen Fox hosted. I'm seeing faces. And if what I recall is that it was a show that, and I promise we'll get back to the regular podcast, but what I recall is that it was a show where people would review. I don't know. I think it was like what are the shows that were on VH1? Like Guy Code and Girl Code. That was like VH1, MTV, whatever. But like Guy Code, Girl Code, the 2000s. I don't know. The 90s. I love the 90s. I love the 80s. All that stuff. That was so cheap to make. Anyway, a deal for the company would elevate Mr. Murdoch's Lupus Systems as a player in U.S. media. Remember, Rupert Murdoch owns Fox. That also includes Fox News, Fox Broadcasting, FS1, the rest. What does Lachlan Murdoch own? Oh, he's the CEO of Fox Corporation. So there you go. That's right, because Rupert retired. That's right, or died. I don't know. If Rupert Murdoch is still alive, then good for him. Lupus Systems has a majority stake in Tribeca Enterprises, which currently runs the Tribeca Film Festival. It has backed Bodhi Tree Systems, one of India's biggest media investors. Whoa, it's kind of a lot. When I saw James Murdoch was looking into purchasing Vox Media, the largely liberal Vox Media, obviously I went to Wikipedia to see if he is indeed related to Rupert and Lachlan, and then if so, how far indoctrinated is he? But you know what? He's a good guy. He's not a racist, and he doesn't have any racist interests. I don't know. He might be a closet racist. He might be a bigot. Who knows? This is very interesting because you'll see how small the media industry is in general once you hear how close he is to the purchase of this. In 1977, Rupert Murdoch bought the magazine's parent company, which was then Village Voice. If you remember the Village Voice newspaper, which is New York based, triumphing over a lawsuit filed by its president, Clay Felker. And then in 1991, Rupert sold New York Magazine, along with publications including 17 and Racing Forum, for $650 million. So, James, is that his name? Why do I know Lachlan Murdoch? His name, but James will be bringing this back into the familial fold. But his father and his brother will have nothing to do with it. Vox Media is. It used to be, I would still probably say it is, a prominent voice when it comes to news, media, and syndication. Oh, they also own SB Nation. And they also have The Dodo and Recode. Huh. Stop it! But Vox has really turned into podcasts as of late. And their podcasts have been doing pretty well. I would say they're pretty good podcasts. Their podcasts have generated more than $80 million for the company in 2025. They also have their podcasts include Today Explained, which I believe is also Vox Explains on YouTube, and it was a show on Netflix for a little bit. They also have Brene Brown. If you've never been to Vox, I don't go to Vox anymore because it became a pay-for-read website, and I support them, but I just don't want to go. I don't want to pay and have to read. I support journalism, but man. This is Vox. If you've never been, if you're watching the video, this is Vox. They also have The Verge, which is like this. Verge. The Verge just changed its layout again. There you go. This is what The Verge looks like. And some other stuff. New York Magazine. But their Explainer series is very popular. Very, very popular because it just kind of goes in with the idea, why is the Strait of Hormuz important right now, or at all? And that's pretty much it. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I have no way to end a news podcast, a business news podcast. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people sometimes. Interviews coming out this week, next week, and past tense last week. If you want to see a video version of those interviews, as well as a video version of this show, as well as a video version of the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and The Constitutionals, the entertainment business news show, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy. You can also subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media, C Plus Comedy on Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Me on those platforms at Chad Blackwhite. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.